Yep. Okay. All right, guys. So we're back. So we got Carlos and we've got Grunt. You know Carlos as Obeliskblue13. And we're continuing the discussion that we've had recently over just Yu-Gi-Oh! News, specifically Burst of Destiny, because there's an awful lot of good stuff that we've discussed so far. So the first thing we're going to look at here is a trap and then a monster. So we've got Break the Destiny. It's a normal trap. You can only use one of this card's 1 and 2 effects per turn, and only once that turn. Target one Destiny N Dragoon or level 8 or higher Destiny monster you control. Destroy it. And if you do, you skip your opponent's next main phase 1. You can banish this card from your graveyard, add one spell or trap that specifically lists Destiny N Dragoon or a Destiny Hero monster card's name in its text from your deck to your hand, except Break the Destiny. And then the monster card here, Destiny Hero Denier, it's a level 3 Dark Warrior target. You can only use this card's first effect once per turn. You can only use this card's second effect once per duel. Oh, that's interesting. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can place one of your Destiny Hero monsters that is banished in your deck or in your graveyard on top of the deck. If you have a Destiny Hero monster other than Destiny Hero, oh geez, what is that? Denial Guy on your field or in your graveyard, you can special summon this card from your graveyard. Interesting. Okay, do either of you play Destiny Heroes quite a bit?
Yeah, I play them casually. They're fun. I like them.
Okay, so what do you
Pretty
think
well
of the...
informed on them.
Okay, so Carlos, what do you think of the two cards here?
So the trap card, the first effect is very powerful to skip your opponent's main phase. It just requires a bit of a setup because you have to set it one turn, then you have to activate it next turn. So it's 2 or 3 turns by the time you're actually seeing that effect, and so that kind of sucks. The banish it from the graveyard, add a spell / trap that lists a Destiny Hero monster. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So you can play Foolish Burial Goods with this and send this. And then the Denier, I really like it because if it's normal summoned, you can literally return your Malicious, and then you can get another free Malicious summon. And it's also just a free extender from the graveyard, so it's just a really good card overall.
Well, in Grunt, when I think of heroes, I think of swarming the field, especially with the Vision Hero stuff that's out there. What is your thinking with this? Do you think that's the whole purpose here, trying to swarm the field, then get this trap out so that you can, cause some havoc for your opponent?
I mean, I've seen people making combos with this where they'll set the trap and they'll activate it during the opponent's standby phase to skip that current main phase. I think that's how it's... Denier is also very solid. Obviously, it recurs malicious, and it works on special as well. So if you summon it with, any multitude of the Vision Hero effects like Increase, you could definitely get some usage out of it, because there are definitely extensive combos with Increase and Ferris where you can end on Denier, and if you already have a Malicious banished, you can use this as an extender. So yeah, it's pretty solid.
Yeah, it's not bad. I think it's a good, little tech that you could put in. Like Carlos is saying, there is some setup for the trap, but players love to experiment. And so, this is something for them to mess around with. And I always think that's fun for everybody.
Oh, again, I'm sorry, guys. Got background.
Oh, no, you're okay. Don't worry about it. The next that we've got here is the level 8 fusion monster, Destiny Hero Destroy Phoenix Enforcer. One level 6 or higher hero monster plus one Destiny Hero monster is required for the fusion. You can only use this card's second and third effects once per turn. So the first effect is what it is. So monsters you control lose 200 attack for each hero card in your graveyard. That could get overwhelming because heroes do end up with lots of heroes in the grave. Quick effect, you can destroy one card you control and one card on the field. Third effect, if this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can activate this effect, special summon one Destiny Hero monster from your graveyard during your next standby phase. Ooh, that's interesting. Okay, so Grunt, what do you like or dislike about the card?
So, this is this is probably the best of the three cards right here. It not only is a recurable way to keep it, so essentially it's obvious. You're using the trap, you're destroying this guy, he brings himself back, and he offers you a way to punish your opponent for what's in your graveyard. Heroes already have cards like that one link 3 that boosts them, so having a reduction on top of that is good. Quick effect, you can destroy a card and a card on the field. It's not targeting destruction. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
It's just, and I mean, here's the other thing. Obviously, is I think the combo people are using is literally Fusion Destiny, send Malicious and Denier. You can summon this guy, banish Malicious to summon a Malicious from your deck. Denier's effect, since you control another Destiny hero on your field, you can special summon him from your graveyard, and then Denier is able to recycle your Malicious for another turn. So this is going to be a nice little mini engine to add back into the hero deck. Is it going to be meta? I don't know.
Yeah.
It is definitely formidable.
That's a great question. I was just going to ask Carlos that. Carlos, what do you think the meta impact would be? And if so, what's the rarity based on what you feel?
So I don't think this is going to be meta. It's just going to help heroes, which heroes have always been like roguish. Except Diamond Dude Turbo, that was meta.
Yes.
But for the most part, heroes have always just been rogue. So this is going to help them. It's really cool because there's several things this card does. First of all, you can actually fusion summon it with your Destiny Hero spell card. So and I'm pretty sure that sends materials from the deck, which is really good because you can send like Malicious and another Destiny hero. And on top of that, this is a quick effect pop, which heroes didn't really have any form of disruption before this on your opponent's turn. So this is finally disruption, and it's just honestly, it's a great card. It has awesome artwork. I think it's beautiful artwork. It has a really strong effect, and I like it. And one thing I did want to point out, I'm not sure if this will lead to some experimentation with perhaps maybe something like Unchained, because you can destroy your trap card, and then you get a summon. And potentially you could get 2 disruptions for 1. Because if you destroy your trap card and you special summon the big 3K Unchained, he pops on summon, so you could technically be getting 2 pops for 1.
I like that. That's really good thinking, Carlos. So what do you think? Is it going to be a super? Do you think it'll be a rare? Like, what are you thinking?
Fusion's going to be a secret or an ultra. It's going to be one of those two.
Yeah, it's probably an ultra because I mean, if you look at the screen, the text looks gold.
It does.
But we don't always.
Well, that's an OCG. OCG's always bump stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Let me finish. But yeah, basically what he said. You never know because OCG is a bit weird with their rarities. I wouldn't mind seeing this as a secret personally because I think it would look beautiful as a secret. I like it.
Yeah, it's definitely a solid addition. Like you were saying, Carlos, heroes really don't have quick effects, and so that can really interact on your opponent's turn. And then this way, if someone does try to play a Mystic Mine on you, you can quick effect play this, and it gives you a chance to have that interruption. So there's definitely some good uses for the card. And if you are a hero player, this is something to, without a doubt, look forward to. Moving on, we've got Machina Ruin Force here. So it's nice that they're really continuing to support some of these decks that even have had like a structure deck recently. So we know Machina had one, I want to say, was it 2 years ago, guys? That Machina had a structure deck
like a year ago.
A year ago, okay. And it's nice to see that they're still doing stuff for the archetype. But cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned from your graveyard by banishing any number of machine monsters from your graveyard whose total levels equal 12 or more. You can only use this card's first and second effects once per turn each. When your opponent activates a card or effect during the battle phase, quick effect, you can pay half your life points, negate the activation, and if you do, have your opponent's life points. Oh, that's interesting. If this card is destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can special up to 3 of your banished Machina monsters whose total levels equal 12 or less. And then we have King of the Sky Prison. It's also a level 10, but it's a rock, so I'm excited to see that for Animancipators. Okay, so here we go. You can only use one of this card's first and second effects per turn, and only once that turn. During your main phase, you can reveal this card in your hand until the end of your opponent's turn, and if you do, while this card is revealed by this effect, set cards on the field cannot be destroyed by card effects. Oh, that's interesting. If a set spell or trap is activated, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then, if the effect was activated while this was revealed in your hand, you can set one spell or trap directly from your deck to the field, but banish it during the end phase of the next turn. Oh, wow. Boy, interesting cards here. So, Carlos, looking at the Machina monster here, would this stop cards like Honest and Dark Honest? Because it's during the battle phase?
I'm not.
I don't think it can activate during the damage step.
Yeah, because it's very rare that a card can activate during the damage step. But it can stop cards like Mirror Force, which is I know people aren't running that, but still good. And it doesn't necessarily have to stop. Like if your opponent just activates like a monster effect during the battle phase, you can stop that too. So I really like that card. I like this card overall because like first of all, it's really easy to summon. Second of all, it has 4,600 base attack.
Yeah.
Man. Like who's getting over that?
Yeah.
Like no one's getting over that anytime soon with just a regular Link monster. You're gonna have to go into like Axis Code Talker, maybe Boros Sword, but even Boros Sword wouldn't work because I think actually you can't respond to Boros Sword. But regardless, this guy's really big, and I like that for Machina. I think it's a really good addition to the Machina deck.
What do you think? What about the Rock card here? That's pretty interesting as well.
Yeah, he's good. He's good if you're playing like Stun. I'm not the biggest fan of Stun. I think it's boring just setting like 5 and waiting for your opponent to lose.
Not surprised to hear that.
Well, it is boring, and so like it's good for them. I just think I don't like that play style, but it's a good card.
Okay, Grunt. Anything that you feel that? Where do you see the King of the Sky Prison being included? What kind of decks do you see that being used in?
Oh, I could list many. He could be used in Amazement, Trap Tricks. Trap Tricks is a big one that comes to mind. Any control deck out there. I could even see Guru Control because it protects your face-down Guru if they want to try and do something to it. I'm not saying, oh my god, it's going to make these decks busted, but the fact that now you can set 3 to 4 cards, reveal him, and not have to worry about Feather Duster ruining your day. I mean,
oh, great point. Yeah, really, really good point.
I'll be honest, I'm not saying it's meta, but even Chainburn, I feel, could see use with him just because he's a big body that can bring himself out. He protects your cards from mass spell trap removal with Lightning Storm getting its reprint on the horizon, with Feather Duster being back at 1. This is a good card to have out there. The Ruin Force, I'll just say real quick, it's cool. I don't think it's gonna make any huge movements in Machina, but it's a neat concept. It's a neat card. We all knew it was gonna be coming at some point when they reveal the other dark ones.
Right. But again, solid additions, and me personally, I'm a big fan of the King of the Sky Prison just for the idea that you have a way to protect your stuff. And so, yeah, it's very effective. I like it. Okay, so moving on here, our next one, Zora the Magistus Daemon, level 8 Synchro, Fire Spellcaster. It takes 1 Spellcaster Tuner plus 1 non-tuner monster. You can only use the third effect of this card's name once per turn. If this card is synchro summoned, you can equip it with 1 Magistus monster from your extra deck. Your opponent cannot activate the effects of monsters of the same type, Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link as Magistus monster cards in your spell and trap zones. And then the third one, you can target 1 Magistus card you control, destroy it, and if you do, special summon this card from your graveyard. Ooh, very interesting. And then we've got a Link 4 here for Evo Twins, which I'm sure people are very excited about that play the deck. It's called Trouble Sunny. So it takes 2+ monsters, including an Evo Twin monster. You can use each effect among 1 and 2 effects with this card's name once per turn. The first one is a quick effect. You contribute this card, special summon from your graveyard 1 Kia Skill and 1 Lila monster each. And the second, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then send 1 Evil Twin monster from your hand, deck, or face-up field to the graveyard, and send 1 card on the field to the graveyard. Okay, so Grunt, what do you think here? I kind of like that Synchro card quite a bit. What's your thinking?
Synchro's cool, but anyone will tell you that compared to Drytron and Evil Twin, that Magistus kind of sucks. It's cool that it has lore, and I'll be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if people here even forget what Magistus do. The idea is that they have various extra deck monsters that they can equip to themselves for additional effects. They have some effects on the field, and we actually got a new Xyz for them in Lightning Overdrive, so it's neat stuff, but I feel like Magistus is easily forgotten just because it's not really doing much. There's like a Shadal version, but there's better things to splash with Shadal, so the Synchro is cool. It's just, I feel like if the deck were a little more stronger on the out, like on its own already, it would have been better, because this guy is great. I just don't think he's being added to a deck that can really use him well. They can summon him, but you know what I'm saying. It's just not a good enough deck to really think, hey, this one card fixes it. Link 4, on the other hand, I'm sure Carlos can say his own opinions. This thing makes the deck much, much better. It was already a fine enough deck, but this makes it a lot better, because now, instead of going from Kiss Kill and Lila into another Kiss Kill or Lila, depending on what you want to do during your opponent's turn, you can literally summon this as a 3300 body. It has the ability to bring back both of them, which allow you to trigger both of their effects, so you can get a draw and a pop. And then they still have their return effects if you want to, do more recursion. And of course, the second effect is the banish is nice because you can send any evil twin, and this is kind of interesting just because there is I think there's only one non-link evil twin right now, and that's the combination of Lila and Kiss a Kill that people were actually not playing. But the fact that it's non-targeting sending, so it's not even destruction. Non-targeting, non-destruction removal is probably the best form of removal in the game.
Yes, absolutely.
So this fixes the deck. I mean, people out there who want evil twins, just gonna say it now, Kiss a Kill is already bought out. She's already over $25 a pop.
Jeez. Wow.
So you missed the train. This thing's been revealed for like a month now, so it's definitely been making the rounds with people hyping it up.
$25. Wow. Carlos, you're thinking.
Yeah, so I think you're putting down Magistus. Obviously they're not meta or anything, but they're a nice little fun deck. Also, this card is like absolutely busted, man. Like, it's literally a floodgate for any type.
Yeah.
And very, very often you can find yourself equipping multiple types onto your Magistus, and on top of that, this card equips on summon. So like, at the very worst, say you're going into game 2, you know what your opponent's playing. If they're playing like a Shadal, you make this, you equip your fusion, and bam, they can't activate their Shadal fusion effects. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this, and it's got 2900 attack. Like, it's a really
beefy.
It's beefy, and this card really gives you a reason to play Magistus now. Because now you have like an archetype floodgate that's really amazing, I think. And the Evil Twin Sunny, like Grunt said, it's a really good card. 3300 attack, that's a lot. That's nothing to joke at. And then the fact that you can trigger both your effects on your opponent's turn, like, that's really, really good. So, 2 really awesome cards, and honestly, Burst of Destiny is looking good.
Yeah,
That set is good.
And that's
probably gonna.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Carlos.
I'm probably gonna have to pick up a case of that, because this set is just really good.
Yeah, and we've been noticing that because we talked a little bit about the set last night. It's a really solid set so far. And I've been noticing there's been some pretty good sets overall that we have covered. Like, honestly, the more I look at like Dawn of Majesty, that was the one that had all the Joker stuff, right? Is that correct, guys?
No, Dawn of Majesty is the set that's coming out next week.
What was that
which
one
is
then?
also, which is debatably not, in my opinion,
that
I
set
would
is
have
crap.
What-
That set's crap.
What was
I'm not
the
opening the
Joker
box
one
of
that we just covered? I'm trying to remember.
King's Court.
King's Court.
And I know Carlos has his opinions, but I still
yeah,
share Shadow
guys,
Museum.
I've really enjoyed it the more that I've messed around with it.
Exactly.
I think it's a pretty good set. So
you know what? Maybe it'll age well. I guess my issue is that I shouldn't have whether I plus or neg based on pulling a card that's not guaranteed.
Yeah, and I get your clumping issue that you talked about. I do.
Clumping sucks.
But I do think that by covering these sets, it really helps our audience know, okay, guys, this is a good set to go ahead and invest in, or this is a bad one to go ahead and invest in. And so I just think all of that is just so helpful to our audience. And even me as a player, it helps me know what to look for. So I just really enjoy that we do this.
It's fine. I guess my argument for against King's Court is that I could have bought everything I pulled for much less than what it cost to buy them sealed. And I understand if you really want to try and pull the God cards, good for you. I'm just saying you could buy 5 boxes, which is the value of a Winged Dragon Raw, not even, like, it's more than that. And if you don't pull Winged Dragon Raw, you were better off buying the Winged Dragon Raw. It's just, that's my point to people out there, is that if you really want one card in this set, bite the bullet, buy that card, no matter what it's worth, because you're probably not going to get it, especially if it's the secret rare god.
It's interesting. So, and this is so important for the audience. When we're covering these sets, if we see some cards that we point out to you guys like, oh, these are good. Notice Carlos has already said, well, I'll probably get a case. That is a huge green light for you guys of, I should probably invest something. And the reason I say that, King's Court, when it first dropped, I want to say it was like 50 something when I saw it for just the box, and it's all the way up to like 90. I mean, it has really skyrocketed already. So whenever I see that kind of jump, that shows me that people are finding more value than they thought they were going to get originally. And when that happens, that honestly, you could just buy the box, wait and see what happens, and then resell. I mean, there's just so many different ways you could use this information. But anyways, moving on here, we've got our ritual card here, Transonic Bird, and you can ritual summon this card with the Sonic Tracker. So once per turn, you can reveal one ritual spell in your hand, and if you do, add one ritual monster from your deck to your hand whose name is listed on it. And if you do that, shuffle the revealed card into the deck. Number 2 effect. Once per turn, during your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can send one ritual spell from your deck to the graveyard. This effect becomes the ritual spell's effect that ritual summoned a monster when it's activated. And then the third one, if this ritual summoned card is tributed, you can target one face-up card your opponent controls, negate its effects until the end of this turn. And then we have Sonic Tracker. It's a ritual spell. This card is used to ritual summon Transonic Bird. You can use the second effect with this card's name only once per turn. 1. Ritual summon one Transonic Bird from your hand by tributing monsters from your hand or field whose total levels equal 4 or more, but the summoned monster's level becomes equal to the total levels of the monster used. Here's the second effect. You can banish this card from your graveyard. Then target one ritual monster you control. Send one ritual monster with the same type and or attribute as that face-up monster from the deck to the graveyard. Okay, so Carlos, what are you thinking with these cards? Where do you see them being used?
I really don't see them being used. They're just pack filler. I mean, they're fine cards. I'm serious.
No, I love the way you put that. It's so true.
Every set has a couple cards that are just pack fillers, and you know, these are some of the cards for this set. Like, if you're gonna play rituals, you wouldn't really play these. You'd play like Drytrons or Incantations. You know, there's like so many better ritual engines now to just use, and I feel like if you're gonna make generic ritual cards, they have to at least be better than Drytrons.
Yeah,
and Drytrons are pretty good. So
yes, yeah, Completely agree. And it's frustrating when they put cards like these in because I just think to myself, why? Why put a card in that doesn't really have that great of a use? So, very interesting for sure. Grunt, your perspective.
I mean, you compare this thing to Drytron, of course you're gonna say, "Oh, it's shit." My opinion is that it's not the greatest thing ever, but I mean, come on, there's some uses here. The fact that you can summon a ritual monster during your opponent's turn is just like the idea of fusion or synchro summoning during their turn for effects on summon. And
Mm-hmm.
there are a few rituals that benefit from that. Obviously, you can ritual summon. Like, I can honestly, since this is a winged beast, I'm sure there are some Shino Bird players out there who would not mind summoning Shino Bear and Peacock, and then being able to
Mm-hmm.
bounce 3 cards their opponent controls during their turn. It's got some uses that Drytron wouldn't see use in. You could summon the Amorphage ritual to cut off your opponent's main. Well, actually, let me check this real quick. Skips the next main phase. I mean, the point is, it has some use. Or Magician of Black Chaos. It's kind of like Megaliths. It's literally just kind of like a Megalith engine in
Mm-hmm.
2 cards. And I'm not saying it's amazing. I'm just saying let's not sell it short here. I think it could see some experimentation. You know, Table 500 rogue stuff. It's not going to be meta. I just feel like this isn't as bad as most of the other pack filler we've gotten over the years. Got to give it some credit.
Yeah, there are some uses
I'm not.
here, but I
So I'm
still
not
think.
saying this card. I'm not saying these cards are bad. I'm just saying this set's so good that in comparison to everything else in this set, this is just kind of like a
Mm-hmm.
throwaway card.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty good for a throwaway card, in my opinion. I mean, it's a throwaway card that I was willing to include. There's other Burst of Destiny throwaway cards that are way more throwaway than this. I guess I'm just saying I could actually see myself throwing this into something like Shino Birds and it's no Destiny Hero stuff, but not everything in the set can be busted.
Right, right. And I totally get that. And for budget players who are looking for something fun to play that's cheap, this is something that they could experiment with. Um, and I just don't know. I'd really like to see a deck use it so I could get a better feel for how well it would work. So I always think that's the key with a lot of these cards. But with you brought up Megalith, I never would have thought I would have saw them do as well as they did when they ended up topping an event, but they did. So you just never know. Sometimes what we look at throwaway cards, sometimes others are like, oh yes, that's exactly what I want. All right, so our next card here, I believe this is Mutering. I'm not sure.
I love this card.
But you can use the first effect with this card's name only once per turn. If a field spell is activated, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then if face-up cards are in both players' field zones, this card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects this turn. Ooh, interesting. Second effect, negate the effects of any face-up card in your opponent's field zones during your turn. Also negate the effects of any face-up cards in your field zone during your opponent's turn. Oh, wow. And then we've got Small World. It's a normal spell. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. So you can reveal one monster in your hand and reveal one monster in your deck with its name, type, attribute, level, attack, or defense. Only exactly one of these. Banish that first revealed monster face down. Then add to your hand one monster from your deck with the same type of attribute, level, attack, or defense. Oh wow, this is interesting. Only exactly one of these as that second revealed monster. And if you do, banish that second revealed monster face down. Oh, this is interesting. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Grunt, let's walk through the cards. Both are very interesting and have very cool uses, it looks like. Which one do you like the most here?
Well, I like them both for different reasons, and personally, I think if I had to go for, oh my god, this might see a lot more experimentation, it's Small World. Small World's probably the better of the two. But I can't give enough love to Mutering because Mutering is a cute little cat that's flipping off any and all Mystic Mind players
Yep.
because it shuts down Mystic Mind, which, again, I like the fact that there's a monster you can incorporate and it's special summoning as an extender, so I don't know. I'm not saying it's going to be amazing, but it's a side deck option
It,
possibly. And again,
yeah,
it's a free special summon at worst. I mean, it's everyone uses field spells these days. And I will say this real quick: Small World is definitely one of those cards that's gonna confuse people for a little bit,
yeah,
but once you understand the mechanics of it, it's not that bad. It's literally I reveal Blue Eyes White Dragon. I reveal a light monster like Ghost Ogre that does not share any stats or anything. All it
uh-huh.
shares with Blue Eyes is the light attribute. And then I could literally just add something else that's different. And it's literally find something that shares one thing with the card you reveal in your hand, banish the card in your hand, and then you're going off of the second card and you're finding something to add. So again, it's the only thing this card's going to do, in my opinion, is it's going to make people think before they activate it, because there might be situations where they think they can legally activate it, but they can't because they don't have the right targets.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
But
really like it. I really like metering, just because of the idea that, like you said, I see this as a staple in the side deck if you're going against people who are, rely on their field zones quite a bit. So if you're playing a deck that you know your opponent's going to be using that constantly, or in the meta, there's a deck that uses that a lot, this is a great tech choice. And Small World, boy, I agree with you. I think it's going to cause a lot of issues at first, but I think it's a very interesting card for sure. Carlos, what are your thoughts on these two?
I like Small World because it's just the generic searcher.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's really good. I definitely like that. Mutering, I like because I hate Mystic Mine, and
Yes.
so that's good.
like minded, yep.
Yep.
So yeah, yeah. But if I had to give if I had to give one I like a little bit more, I like Small World a little bit more, just because
Mm-hmm.
I prefer the searching. I feel like instead of playing this, I would just play like other stuff to out Mystic Mine. Like I'd play like Lightning Storms
Yeah. Yeah.
or like Harpy's Feather Duster, because like at least at least that way, if
You
even if
have
my
more
opponent isn't playing
uses.
Mystic Mine,
Mm-hmm.
I can still, or a field spell, I can still like destroy their back row.
That's a
So
great point you bring up, Carlos. There are other more generic uses that are pretty useful. I'm just wondering if these might be like, if metering might be like a budget option. I know we're getting a reprint of Harpy's Feather Duster again. We're actually going to talk about that here in a little bit. But lightning storms are still pretty expensive, so this could maybe be maybe more budget centered, is my thinking. But yeah, I agree with you guys. I think Small World is just so good for how generic it is, and that to me is a great way for the company to be thinking, how can we give more generic support out there that helps everybody. Moving on now to the synchro here, we've got Cupid Pitch. There we go. It's a level 4 light fairy synchro tuner. So it takes one tuner plus one non-tuner to make it. And you can only use this card's third effect once per turn. So the first one, if this card is synchro summoned, increase or decrease its level by the level of the tuner used as the material for the synchro summon. Interesting. It gains, for the second effect, attack to its level times 400. And the third one, if this synchro summon card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the level of the synchro monster that used this card as its material times 100. And if you do, you can add one level 8 or lower monster with 600 defense from your deck to your hand. Oh, that's really interesting. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and then we've got the next one here, Soldra Palm Fengli, and it's a level 1 fire plant tuner. So I know Shadow Mule will be excited. He loves his plants cards. If this card is sent from the deck to the graveyard by a monster effect, you can special summon this card. Then, if you control another plant monster, you can have the attack and defense of one face up monster on the field. Second effect, which can only be used once per turn. No, that's the first one. Second effect, the first time this card on the field would be destroyed by battle or card effect this turn, you can send one plant monster from your deck to the graveyard instead. Ooh, that's interesting as well. Okay, so Grunt, what are you, or Carlos, I'll start with you. What are you thinking here with these two?
More Paxville. The Cupid pitch is like I don't really see a deck you'd play this in. I mean, it's really not good. It gains attack equal to its level times 400.
Yeah.
And so it only starts out as a level 4. Yeah, that's not very good. We don't like that. I definitely don't like that. I do like how it's a tuner synchro though, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Level 4.
And in fact that you
And it
get
can
to
change its.
increase its level or increase it. I think there's some crazy, like, I think it's part of a combo is the intention. At least that's my thinking.
There's a combo that people are experimenting with this thing right now, and I think it's genius.
Ooh, okay, that's interesting. Well, we'll get to that here in a second. What was your thought on the other card though, Carlos? On Fingli.
I think I don't know. I think it's just okay. Like I don't really see like what deck you'd play it in.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm thinking something with plants. Are there any plants that are like Shaddolls that when you send them to the graveyard, their effects trigger?
You know what?
It sends a copy of itself. It can bring it back.
Oh.
You know what? This doesn't that one plant deck like excavate the top cards of his deck and then mill?
Oh, what is that deck?
What are they called? Not that.
It's not Sun Avalon.
Sylvan.
Sylvan.
Yes.
Yes.
Sylvan.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good thought. Absolutely. So, Grunt, you said there was something with Cupid Pitch that you thought was pretty good. What was it that you had seen?
So it's not gonna be shocker. It's probably not gonna be meta, but someone found a funny little interaction. So you're probably thinking, oh, 600 is a random number. There can't be that many monsters that have 600 defense. But there are actually over 179 monsters that have 600 defense. And you know what one of them is?
What is it?
One of them is a level 8 monster called Destiny Hero Plasma.
Oh, yeah.
So what people will do is they'll do the Auroradon combo at Deskbot 001. Deskbot 001 plus a token is 4. You summon Pitch. Pitch can raise its level by 1. You can sync it with the other token to make a level 8 synchro, or if you want to lower it, make it a 6. The idea is that you can eventually build up word presence, get a free search on D-Hero Plasma, and because you're still doing extension plays with Auroradon, you can probably get out Plasma as an extra floodgate.
And that's pretty good. Combo. That is pretty good if you can get out Plasma. That's a great card.
Like it's not busted, but it's something to keep in mind. And again, as more cards come out with 600 defense, as stupidly specific as that is, there could eventually be some stupid unintentional interaction with this. The only reason why it has that is because all of the other quote-unquote Cupid monsters, which are all based on sports as well, have 600 defense, so that's probably the idea here. Okay. But, Plasma is just a funny little accident with this thing. And,
I like it. Okay, next one here, we've got Ecclesia the Virtuous in white. It's a level 4 light spellcaster tuner. You can only special summon by this card's first method once per turn. You can use the second and third effect of this card each once per turn. First one, if your opponent controls more monsters than you, you can special summon this card from your hand. I love cards that do that. During the main phase quick effect, you contribute this card, special summon one Xingjiang monster or one Fallen of Albaz from your hand or deck. Oh, wow. And during the end phase, if a fusion monster or monsters is sent to the graveyard this turn, you can add this card, I'm assuming, back to the hand. It cut off with the text.
Yes, you can add this card from the graveyard back to your hand.
Okay. And then we've got Stained Glass the Valiant, and it's a normal trap. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. Apply these effects in sequence based on the type of effect monsters you control. If it's a fairy, you get to draw 3 cards, then place 2 cards from your hand on the bottom of the deck in any order. If it's a fiend, your opponent draws 1 card, and then they discard 1 random card, and then if they have any other cards in their hand, discard 1 more of their choice. Interesting. Okay. So, Grunt, what are you thinking with these two?
Well, Ecclesia here is obviously a little retrain of the Ecclesia we got last year. She obviously isn't with Dogmatica. She is kind of more tied to Xingqiang, which, Xingqiang players out there are going to be using this. It does
Yeah.
have synergy as well with the Iris Sword Soul that we're getting in Dawn of Majesty. That again we were talking about the translation people were complaining about.
Right.
In Stained Glass of the Valiant, I just included this here because it's pack filler, obviously, but it's obvious that they're paying somewhat of a homage to Graceful Charity and Delinquent Duo, and it's not busted, but I mean, again, you could, you're able to draw 3 off of this. It's not nearly the same because you're not pitching them and your opponent's drawing before they discard, but it's a nice little effect. I think that there are some decks that would like, the ability to draw 3
Yeah.
cards. I mean, I could see some, like if we're talking about rogue stuff or table 500 stuff, counter fairies could probably play this just to
Yeah.
get extra cards
Yeah.
in their hand.
Well, and I like the Ecclesia a lot just because it special summons itself. The artwork I think looks really neat on the card too. And then I also like that it's support for 2 main archetypes that we know are going to be having a big impact on the future meta. Carlos, you're thinking.
Yes, so I really like the Ecclesia card. Like first of all, the fact that it's just an extender is really good.
Yep.
Also the fact that it can special summon a Zhang monster, I think that's really awesome because I think that archetype has potential to be really good. I also like the fact that it can special summon Fallen of Albes as a quick effect, so you can summon it on your opponent's turn and potentially interrupt their combo. So that's good. And then Stained Glass of the Valiant, I don't like the Fiend effect. I think it's kind of meh. I do like the Fairy effect, and I could see this being played in something like maybe heck, you could play it in. I know we're getting an agent structure deck pretty soon. You could play it in agents potentially, so that'd be good. The one thing I do want to point out, you're not really gaining card advantage with this per se because you have to use the card, and then you draw 3 and you put back 2. So you're basically it's just a 1-for-1, but you get to pick which 3. So it's more like the not prosperity, pot of duality, the one that you reveal the top 3 and then add 1. It's just it doesn't have the special summon restriction and it's a trap card. So I think it's more like that versus
Okay.
The card Grunt mentioned. But yeah, so that's my opinions, and I think these are both pretty good cards. The trap not as much as the Ecclesia monster, but the trap at least if you're playing like a fairy deck and you need like extra cards to finish off your deck, this is probably going to be a common in Burst of Destiny. Why not play like a copy or 2 maybe?
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up. Someone from the chat, Clouding Mushroom, said for Rogue, Despia can have both fairies and fiends. So what do you think, Grunt? Do you think that's kind of the thinking maybe for something like that?
Yeah, Despia could definitely get away with running this. I don't know if they're going to, just because the deck gets enough done without relying on a trap. And I know that's what people are going to say, oh, it's a trap, it's slow. And I'm like, yeah, but again, the effects are solid, and it's got uses.
It does. And like you said, it's some
keep in
pack
mind.
filler, but there are some uses that we can all see. So I like that kind of pack filler. I'm okay with that because, again, I'm always coming from the budget mindset. That's something people could mess around with and see if they like it. So, yeah, very interesting. In Cloud, thank you for the suggestion. Okay, so now we're on to the punk archetype here, and the artwork is done in punk fashion. So it's got that futuristic gothic look to it when you look at all the cards. And I think they did a really nice job if they're doing punk that they nailed the artwork. Carlos, I know you're a big artwork guy. Would you agree with that? That they did a good job with trying to have that?
Yeah, I think the artwork on this archetype is absolutely beautiful. Unfortunately, I think the effects aren't living up to standard of the artwork. So I know we'll talk about that, but I was actually really disappointed with this archetype, and I was like, wow, is this what we're gonna do? Are we gonna have another one of these deck building sets where all the archetypes are absolutely crap or we just don't care about them. Like the last few, ever since they switched the format where in the deck building sets you have only rares, ultra rares, and collector's rares.
Yeah.
There have been some pretty crap deck building sets.
Oh,
Like
there have. Yeah. Absolutely.
Even the deck building set that Drytron came from, like that one still wasn't like absolutely amazing. It's just they've been really disappointing. Like the one good set that had this ratio was Toon Chaos, and then all the other ones have been just kind of disappointments.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I'm hoping Konami will will reverse, but who knows? They're making so much money. Speaking of the amount of money they're building, and we're gonna have to probably cover this in another video sometime. Did you guys know that Duel Links is by far and large, I think, triple the amount of money any other card game out there, including Hearthstone and Magic?
People like shelling out money. I'm not here to shame any Duel Links players out there, but it's ironic that I could spend less money on cardboard than what Duel Links can cost.
It is crazy to me how much that's making, and when, like I said, we're probably gonna have to have another video on this because I want to talk about the simulator that's coming. It's gonna be so good, so I cannot wait to go over that more. But moving back to the P.U.N.K archetype here, so we've got Yugioh, P.U.N.K Madame Spider, and you can only use the first and second effects of this card's name once per turn. And a lot of them have this going with them where you have to pay life points. So you're going to hear this a lot. So the first effect, you can pay 600 life points and add one P.U.N.K trap card from your deck to your hand. And then the second, when you activate a P.U.N.K card or P.U.N.K card effect that targets a card in your opponent's that your opponent controls, quick effect, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls and have its attack until the end of this turn. Which there are some niche uses for that. That does come up sometimes. Then you've got Yugioh P.U.N.K, oh gosh, Sharakusai. It's a level 3 psychic. And because these are psychics, E-Telly's online, right, guys?
Correct.
Okay. So you can use each of these effects, the 1 and 2 effects with this card's name once per turn. So here we go again. You can pay 600 life points, fusion summon one P.U.N.K fusion monster from your extra deck, using monsters from your hand and or field as fusion material. And during your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can pay 600 life points. Immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon one P.U.N.K synchro monster. So Grunt, I do like with Yugioh here that you do get the built-in poly effect, basically, where you can just fusion just by paying 600 life points. It reminds me of Fluffles with the owl, where you could just pay, I want to say, was it 500 to fuse? Or maybe that's Melodius. Something allows you to fuse, the monster card does. But I do like that. What do you think of these two cards here? Which one's the stronger?
Well, I mean, stronger within the archetype in general. I mean, the spells and traps are no surprise, amazing artworks with probably some of the worst effects I've seen from a deck building set in a while, and that's not really flattering. Like, Madam Spider here is neat. Oh, I can have the opponent's attack, but she already has kind of minuscule stats. Obviously, you're going to use her as fusion fodder or synchro fodder. Well, not really synchro fodder, but the point is, it's just... I think that for that reason, Sharakusa here is actually better, just because he's the one who enables the fusion and synchro summoning during your opponent's turn.
Absolutely.
And that's just probably the better effect here. Madam Spider will probably run out of necessity, but I think Sharakusa is the first one of these two here I'd actually consider running at 3, just because of how he keeps the deck together.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you're saying, the fact that you can synchro summon on your opponent's turn, that to me is pretty good. I have not looked at the synchro summon monster yet, so I'll be curious what it does. Carlos, have you actually tried these cards out yet?
Oh no, they're not out yet, so I haven't tried them. But,
okay.
I just, based on reading them, I wasn't impressed. I didn't like. nothing about this archetype screams, "Oh yeah, this is good," or "This makes me want to play them." Like the fusion effect has a mediocre effect. Uh, the synchro effect I think has a mediocre effect too. It's like, come on. I think the whole point of it is you basically use the Sharakusi to fusion summon, and then during your opponent's turn, you can synchro summon with the fusion and itself because it's a tuner that can fuse, which is really cool. I think that's probably the coolest thing about the archetype. But you can fuse with the synchro and the or the fusion and this to make the synchro, and it's like, okay, cool, but like it doesn't really do anything. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's frustrating. So
and
looking
then
at the, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, pay 600 to add a trap card.
Hmm.
Like why are there why is the pay 600 to search a trap and slash a spell on a different monster? That should have been on one monster.
Yeah.
Well, because you're going to start losing quite a bit of life points, and I've always been told life points are a resource. That's what I was told religiously when I was playing Cosmos against people, or when they were playing against me. But it just seems like it's almost overkill with the amount that you're doing here. Looking at the next one here, we've got Gagaku Punk Wagon. And again, it's level 3. They're all level 3 so far. You can use the first and second effects of this card's name once per turn. You can pay 600 life points, add one punk spell card from your deck to your hand. And then the second one, when a punk monster you control is targeted for an attack by an opponent's card effect, quick effect, you get to draw a card. Now, what worries me about that would have to mean the card stays on the field, correct, gentlemen? In order for that to go through?
I
Yes.
believe so,
Okay.
yes.
Oh, see that's a nightmare right there. Okay, and then you've got no punk seaman, where it says you can use the first and second effects of this card's name once per turn. You can pay 600 life points and add one punk monster from your deck to your hand, except no punk seaman. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target one punk monster you control and it gains 600 attack. Woo. Okay, so Grunt, especially the second card here, or I don't know. Like Carlos is saying, the more I'm reading through it, I'm like, okay, there's got to be something that hopefully pulls this together. Are these, if you're playing the deck, are these at 3 each? What are you thinking here?
It depends.
I think you just don't play the deck.
Pretty much, like with the current support, Wagon is literally. Here's the funny thing: the spells are probably definitely worse than the traps.
Oh wow! Oh wow! Okay.
But to be fair, his effect is also you get to draw a card. Yeah. I get pummeled in with my weak little monsters because you have to have him face up to do that effect. So it's okay getting a draw. It's probably better than boosting a punk monster by 600.
Oh yeah,
Her
yeah. I
effect to
completely
add
agree
a
with
monster though
that.
is easily better.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know, and there's something. I'm just gonna say this right now. This is probably the most underwhelming theme I've seen so far. Like, I like the idea because you'll see later. We're actually getting to their bigger monsters in the next few slides, but I don't know if it really makes the deck amazing. It's kind of cool. I just feel like it's one of those things where they went with design over
Understanding what would be better for the
exactly.
effects. Yeah. I like how Cloud's putting it here. He feels like they're bad prank kids. So that's what he thinks the version of this is. So let's go ahead and move on since there's just not much to talk about there. We've got no punk Foxy Tune now, and you can only use the first and second effects of this card's name once per turn, and it's level 8. So this is our first one that's level 8 versus level 3. You can tribute one punk monster, special summon this card from your hand. You can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard and send one card from your hand to the graveyard. And if you do, special summon one level 8 or lower punk monster from your deck. Oh, so you could get 2 of these out then. Okay. Once per turn, when this card destroys a monster in battle, you can gain life points equal to the original attack of those monsters. It's only 2,300 attack though, so I don't see that happening a ton. Then you got Yugioh Punk Carp Rising, and it To fuse with this, it only takes 2 Punk monsters. You can use the first and second effects of this card's name once per turn. You contribute this fusion summon card, special up to 2 level 8 or lower Punk monsters with different names from your hand or deck in defense position. If this card is used as the material for a synchro summon, you can target 1 Punk monster you control this turn, and it can attack twice during each battle phase. Okay, interesting. Carlos, your thoughts?
So, the Foxy tune, I think it's absolutely trash. Like, it's an extender. It's an extender, but you have to do so much. First of all, you have to tribute a Punk monster to special summon it, right? Okay, so you have to use 1 resource. Then you have to send it from your hand to the graveyard and send an additional 1 as cost. So you're using 3 to special summon 1 level 8 Punk monster from the deck. 1 single one. So you're using 3 cards to go into 1.
Oh.
And more than likely, this is going to get Ash Blossom.
Oh.
The Carp Rising is kind of good. In the sense that you contribute it special summon 2 level 8 or lower Punk monsters. I mean, like, it's cool because it sets you up for your synchro summon. But at the same time, it's like it doesn't, because it says if it's used as a synchro, if it's used for the synchro material, you can target a Punk. Yeah, so like 1 effect is like, hey, tribute it so you can get more materials for the synchro summon. And on the other hand, it's like, use me for the synchro summon, so it doesn't know what it wants to do. So yeah, the archetype just isn't. It's a beautiful, beautiful artwork.
Yeah.
Trash effects.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Grunt, your field, do you agree with Carlos there, or do you think there's some other things that might be different?
I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. I will say that technically Foxy Tune isn't that much of an egg. I say that because Carlos made it out to where you have to have it on the field to do its effect. It does work from the hand, so if you don't open well, you could send it and any other card from your hand, and then just special summon a Punk from your deck. So it's not optimal, but it's there. I mean, you can summon her off of the Monster Searcher, and I mean, here, look at the third effect. It's the whole reason why you pay 600. You've got a monster that can make your life points go up. Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah.
She's cool. I like her for what she does, because at least she's not a weakling. She's not as low as 900 or less attack.
Right.
And she does actually work pretty well for if you're using the synchro, because, 3 plus 8 equals the 11, which is the synchro. And I'm just going to say this. The fusion is cool, but he doesn't do anything for himself. It's literally tribute him, summon 2 Punks, different names from your hand or deck, like the 2 Punks you already used to summon him. And then he only lets the Punk you use with a synchro summon attack during the turn that he's used as material. So if you are using what was his name, Shirakusai's effect to synchro summon during your opponent's turn, then it doesn't really matter if it can attack twice. No. So
yeah,
it's I don't know. I feel like, again, great artwork, but this is even if Konami gives this deck 5, 6, even 10 more support cards, I feel like none of this original stuff really gives a good impression.
Well. You bring up I really like what Carlos said earlier. It's like they can't make up what they want to do. I think that's really well put. It's almost like they put these weird effects on. Well, do you want to use this one? Do you want to use this one? I mean, it doesn't have a set way of trying to make things work. And I'm not sure if that was intentional or not on Konami's end when they were designing this. But that's very unfortunate that there's that much confusion with what are the cards really trying to do. So moving on now to the synchro monster that Grunt just brought up, that it is a level 11. So you've got Yugioh Punk Amazing Dragon. It's 1 tuner plus 1 non-tuner monsters. You can only use 1 effect among the 1 and 2 effects of this card's name per turn. So the first one, if this card is synchro summoned, you can target any number of cards your opponent controls up to the number of level 3 psychic monsters with different names on your field or graveyard, and you get to return them to the hand. And then the second effect, you can target one punk monster in your graveyard, except Yugioh Punk Amazing Dragon, and you get to special summon it. Okay, so that's better. Grunt, I think the Synchro monster's pretty good.
This is build. This is why if you want to really play this deck, this is why you're gonna at least play one of every punk monster in your deck, because the amount of stuff you can bounce can get truly massive, and it is any psychic. So you can play Psychic Wielder. You can play any. Essentially, if you're going to be playing at least one copy of E-Telly in this deck, and any level 3 psychic that functions as extension can be used in this deck. So it's good to have, and he's good. I'm not going to say the deck sucks, but the synchro is good. The synchro is good. It's just that he doesn't have any protection. He only bounces if he gets negated. That's it. And all he does after bouncing is resurrecting something, which is probably going to be your fusion monster. So it's not horrible, but it's again, this isn't exactly what I would consider a great final piece. It's great, but it's not something I would want to see as the only good boss
for the deck. Yeah, and something interesting that someone in the chat here, Cloud, put, and I do get what he's saying here. All the cards want to be different and do their own thing, kind of like how a punker would be. So maybe that was more intentional than I'm thinking. So I can see what he's saying.
Intentionally making an archetype trash doesn't really seem like a good way to sell product for me, to be honest.
Let's see here. Psychic Tracker. If you control a level 3 monster other than Psychic Tracker, you can special summon this card from your hand.
Oh, Carlos. Carlos. You cracked me up.
Also, I was gonna say, like, the only way this archetype would even have a slight chance of even potentially being seen, you would have to unlimit E-Telly, like, and even then you have better psychic decks to play than this.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting for sure, and it'll be interesting to see how they try to support it.
You did?
Oh, sorry, were you gonna say something, Grunt?
Not muted. Grunt, you're not muted.
Sorry, probably was freaking out.
Oh, you're okay. All right, moving on now to the spell support. We've got Gagaku Punk Wild Picking. This is a continuous spell, and I'm worried, Grunt, since you said the spells are worse. So
yes, they are.
Let's look at what these say. You can use the first effect with this card's name only once per turn. At the start of the damage step, if your punk monster is battling an opponent's monster, you can destroy that opponent's monster. Oh, that's interesting. If this card is in your owner's spell or trap zone is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can activate this effect. For the rest of this turn, punk monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle. And that's okay, the last effect there. The first effect is much better. Gagaku Punk Crush Beats. It's another one that's a continuous spell. You can use the first effect with this card's name only once per turn. If your opponent activates a card or a card effect that targets a punk monster in your possession, you can target one card your opponent controls and destroy it. If this card in your owner's spell and trap zone is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can activate this effect. For the rest of this turn, punk monsters you control cannot be targeted or destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Okay, so that's not too bad. Carlos, what do you think of these two?
I mean, I'm going to talk about the one I think that's worse first. Pressure Belt is just terrible. Like, why would your opponent target them with card effects if they know? You know what I mean?
Yes,
like,
yes.
It's like, I hate cards that require your opponent to do something. Your opponent's just not going to do it. It's like, okay, if your opponent's like anything, like even 1% competent in this game, they're just not going to attempt to target your stuff with card effects. And then the damage step thing is like, okay, like, that's kind of good protection. And then like I guess I could see a world where you'd summon your punk monsters in defense position, play this, and then force them to get rid of this first, and then get rid of your monsters.
Which isn't that
But
hard to do. You know what I mean? Like,
not hard these days.
You can go into something like Access Code Talker. Access Code Talker, destroy this back row.
oh,
Then you can destroy their punk monsters,
oh,
and then it's like, okay, you're just gonna kill them. Like this.
oh,
These
it's so
just don't do
bad.
it.
Or if they're
So
using wild
bad.
picking, just destroy their monsters and say, what are you gonna do now, wild picking? There's no monsters to use with you.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
my issue is that this is my issue with a lot of things these days. It comes to the point of Konami, what are you doing? You're making Xingjian. It's the same argument as the Reptilian stuff. They could have made these effects slightly, even much better, and they still wouldn't be considered broken. They literally could have had Crusher Beat here as hard once per turn, where if your opponent activates any effect, you can just target one card your opponent controls and destroy it. It's yes, it's annoying, but at the same time, it's just one destruction. It's not negation, and it would have been fine. And keeping in mind that you still have to control a punk, you have to search this, and
Right.
that would have been fine. And wild picking, it's not having that effect to destroy stuff at the start of the damage step is fine, but your opponent's not going to walk into this unless they don't know how to read, which I know it's a joke in the Yu-Gi-Oh community, but
there it is, because people will have the effect happen and they're like, oh crap, but then they'll remember it for next time. I know I do that all the time where I think I've understood something, I walk into an effect, I'm like, oh, that's what that means. Okay, so I'll remember that for next time. This you should really understand. It's pretty obvious.
Well, the last thing too is that they could have done something cute where it's like there's a reason to maybe pop your own spell traps, but they can't even do that. It has to be destroyed by an opponent's card effect, so your opponent knows what's gonna happen when they destroy. It's literally laying your cards out.
Yeah, it's just telling what you're gonna do. Okay, now we've got the traps. So, Jurjuri, Punk, Dangerous, Gabu. Okay, so how this works: target one effect monster your opponent controls, negate its effects for the rest of the turn. Then, if you control a punk monster, gain life points equal to the targeted monster's original attack. Well, that's interesting. Okay, so it's a cheap man's imperm where you get to negate the effects of something, but you can't activate it from the hand. I mean, you have to set it just like you would the World Chalice card. Or Forbidden Chalice.
But it's searchable.
But yeah, so that is interesting. Then we've got the next one, Surprise, where you target one face-down card your opponent controls, and if you control a punk monster, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, and you get to destroy it. Okay, so this will destroy something face down, but if it's face up, you got to have the punk in order for it to work.
It's Reiki Break without the discard cost.
Yeah,
Again, these traps aren't amazing, but you have to admit, at least you can see some better application because at least your opponent isn't going to have them telegraphed. I mean, yes, you search them, they know you have them, but it's not like the spells where they're hanging out in broad daylight.
Oh, absolutely, because you could set another trap that they don't know. You know, there's lots of different things you could do there. Yeah, so I agree with you. The traps are much better than the spells, which
is something you never say.
Yes, I was just gonna say that you took it right from me. You just don't see that very much in Yu-Gi-Oh anymore. Oh man, so yeah, I think Carlos hit it right on the head. There's other stuff to play that's more fun. So...
and I'll say this one last time. The thing is, they do work with generic psychic stuff, so I could see myself throwing in a few random psychics like Wielder and Tracker, and I don't know, it's not going to be busted. I mean, if this deck is like freaking cheap and I could buy the whole deck for like not even $10, I'll do it because if they get support, maybe it'll be worth picking up.
I do that all the time, Grunt. If it's cheap enough, I'll pick up the entire core just to make sure I've got it, assuming that somehow it's going to get better. So,
at least the artwork looks cool.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say this. Japan gets the set this comes in. Literally, it's August 1st. Japan doesn't get this until the end of the month, August 28th, as it says up here. So we will know the other two archetypes in this pack by the end of the month. So hopefully this isn't the best. If this is somehow the best archetype in this pack, then Konami might actually lose money
on the product. Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Yep.
But I doubt it. I'm sure Konami's other sets are going to be more overpowered just because, or other archetypes, just because one of them features a young lady, and whenever Konami has a young lady in their archetype, it sells well.
It sells.
So.
Yep. It's weird. Looking at the next card here, we've got Penguin Sword. Oh my. So you can it can only be equipped to a penguin monster. You can only use the third effect of this card's name once per turn. The equipped monster gains 800 attack. When the equipped monster inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you get to return one card your opponent controls to their hand. If a face-up card or card you control leaves the field by the effect of a penguin card and is returned to the hand or banished, negate the effects of the cards or cards as well as the activated effects and effects on the field of monsters with the same original name until the end of the next turn. Okay, so Carlos, do you see this being used heavily in penguin builds?
I haven't play tested him, but I can't equip. I can't imagine they would, just because it's an equip spell. I tell you what, though, my girlfriend's excited for the new penguin support, and so I'll be picking that up for her.
Yeah,
so
the penguin stuff.
I'll definitely be getting this.
We covered the penguin stuff last night, and it's good. There's some definitely good there's some good monster cards. I just don't know about this equip spell. I'm still not sold on if it would work very well, because so many penguins need their flip effects in order to work. So, but there is the synchro monster, so that is something. Grunt, where do you see this being used then? Like, is it going to be used on the synchro? Like, where do you see it being used?
Let me check something real quick. It's innocent enough. I'm not saying that, oh my god. I guess what I'm saying is penguins are, as we said yesterday, just don't have a ton of support. So I feel like you can't go running at least one copy of this. I mean, let me see this real quick. If anything, I mean, again, Penguin Brave is a good example of what you could do with this.
Yeah.
And there are a few other penguins. I mean, no penguin with 1600 attack could get up there. No penguin, you don't actually want to flip it. You want him to stay face up. Or I don't know. Is it busted? No. But again, you can't. Or you have to admit this. It gets to leave the field, and anything that gets returned by a penguin while this card is face up, like, I don't know. My point is, it has applications with what penguins do with their flipping effects.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, like, I guess that's what I'm trying to get at.
It does, because you could flip first, return stuff to the hand, then equip this, and then maybe do something where, you cause havoc on them for a turn.
I guess the way I see it is this. You equip this to Penguin Brave, and then literally it's also kind of a continuous spell, because Penguin Soldier's flip effect, Penguin Ninja, it lets you return them all, and then your opponent can't reactivate them during the next turn. So that's the thing I like about it, is that it has a continuous spell clause effect to it. So again, because we have cards that can search penguins now, I feel like you could still argue running 2 copies.
This would have to stay on the field in order for that to work, correct?
Correct. Yeah. But again, there are a few penguins that would not mind getting a nice 800 buff. Again, no penguin likes... I guess, to be fair, it also clashes with no penguin, because no penguin will let it get banished. I guess I'm just saying...
It's a little different, yeah. We'll have to see.
In certain builds, this could see use. I'm not saying it's a 3 of, but it's searchable. Why not run it as a 1 of, just because it interacts with the deck?
Makes sense. Okay, now continuing with Animation Chronicle, we've got Summon Storm. You can use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. Pay 800 life points, special summon 1 level 6 or lower wind monster from your hand. During your main phase, except the turn when this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon 1 level 4 or lower wind monster from your hand. And then you've got Toy Parade here, which I think the artwork is kind of interesting. This card is always treated as a Frightful card. You can only use the first effect among the 1 and 2 effects of this card's name once per turn. Target one dark monster you control that was special summoned from the extra deck. This turn, you can only declare attacks with that monster. Also, each time it destroys a monster in battle, it sends to the graveyard, or that it sends to the graveyard, it can attack again in a row. Oh, that's interesting. If you control a fairy monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard, add one level 4 lower dark monster from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, so looking at this, I do like the normal spell card here, Summon Storm. Because I'm thinking to myself, you could go ahead and pay 800 life points and you get out a barrier statue if it's in your hand for free. Then you could get an additional normal summon that does something else that's kind of crazy. Or you could do all your crazy stuff first and then pay the 800 life points to get the special summon of the barrier statue. I really think I'll use Summon Storm actually quite a bit for some of the bird or wind type archetypes that I use. So that's definitely interesting to me. What are you thinking here, Grunt? Which one do you like the most?
Summon Storm has generic application. I mean, I'm not saying, oh, they should play it. Like, Harpies can play this, Lyralisks can play this, Speedroids could play this. I guess my issue is that it does rely on the hand, and a lot of these decks already have plenty of forms of extension, especially the Lyralisk and Speedroids. So again, it's generic good win stuff. I mean, it can definitely help in a pinch. The level restriction makes sense, I guess, just so you're not summoning, big monsters like Apex Avian with
Avian or something, yeah.
But, it's got some uses. It's neat. Honestly, I think I'm more interested here in Toy Parade, just because Toy Parade is a Fright for card, and, I mean, it's not going to make the deck super crazy. I mean, essentially, it is going to kill your, OTK potential, but if your opponent happens to have a big field of monsters, there are applications with it. Frightford Devil, for example, if you're using him, every time he destroys a monster in battle, he inflicts 1,000 burns. So it's kind of like a poor man's ultimate conductor. So it's got some application. The fact that you can Foolish Burial Goods it, and now you can banish a fairy to add any level 4 or lower dark. There's a lot of those, a lot of level 4 or lower darks. I guess I'm just saying that if there's Chaos decks in the future or something like that, you could probably run this as Foolish Burial Goods. The fact that it's a Fright for card is negligible because it synergizes with Fluffles, but it's not limited to Fluffles.
Yeah.
So I feel like Toy Parade's going to see more experimentation down the line.
Carlos, your thoughts?
I like Summon Storm for what you said, like the barrier statue thing's pretty cool. Can you even summon them, or is there a restriction that you can't?
You can special
barrier
summon
statues
them.
do not have a restriction.
Yep.
Yeah, well, that's really good then. I like that. The Fright for the Toy Parade, I think it's cool. I mean, it's just very situational to me. Like you have to control a fairy to banish it from the graveyard and add a level 4 Lord Dark monster from your graveyard only.
Yeah.
Which makes it like.
Oh, it's graveyard. I didn't even read graveyard. That's my fault then. That actually would have been better if it was deck. Obviously,
this makes it not as good in my opinion. The special summon can attack all your opponent's monsters. Like that's cool, but I'd rather just OTK and Fright for like.
And that's how I think that works.
So for sure, I like the Summon Storm better.
Yeah, me too.
Summon Storm's better. Now that I realize I misread that, I guess I should have taken a better look at that.
That's okay.
What it is.
That's okay. That's no problem. Next, after that, we have Appliancer support. So Appliancer conversion, and it's a quick play spell, and you can only use the first and second effect of this card's name once per turn each. So the first one here banishes many Appliancer Link monsters in your main monster zones as possible. Then you can special summon your banished Appliancer Link monsters up to the number of monsters banished by this effect. During your main phase, if this card is in your graveyard except the turn it was set there, you can banish one other Appliancer spell or trap from your graveyard, and you can add this back to the hand. And then you've got the Link 1 here, Appliancer Propellion, and it cannot be used as link material the turn that is link summoned. So first, this card can attack directly. Ooh, 1200 attack directly. That's not bad. Once per turn during the damage calculation, if your monster battles an opponent's monster and this card is co-linked, you can change your opponent's battling monster's attack to 0 during the damage calculation only. Once per turn during the damage calculation, if this card that is not co-linked battles an opponent's monster, you can change your opponent's battling monster's attack to 0 during the damage calculation only. Interesting. Carlos, what do you think about this for appliancer support?
I think that I really like the conversion just because you want to be able to choose if your appliancers are like, you want to be able to choose what zones the appliancers are in.
Yeah.
So this essentially gets you to like switch if they're co-linked or if they're not. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
And then obviously it can recur itself, so that's really good. The Propellion, the attack directly effect to me is just whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And then the fact that the change the opponent's monster's attack to 0, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then I mean it does that twice, but yeah, I think it's fine.
Yeah. I think it's nice. I think it's good support, and I do agree with you. I think the quick play spell really gets the job done. Moving on to Wing Requital and Speedroid Scratch now. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. If you control 2 or more monsters with different original names and no non-wing beast monsters, pay 600 life points and you get to draw 2 cards. Oh, that's interesting. And then Speedroid Scratch, you can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. Send one Speedroid card from your hand to the graveyard and add one Speedroid monster from your deck to your hand. Interesting. I like the lottery ticket use there. I think that's kind of cool. Grunt, what do you like about these two?
Well, Wing Requital is pretty obvious. I don't know if anyone's been playtesting with it recently, but I know that a lot of people's first ideas were with Wing Requital, I'm going to run this in Lyrilisks because I already swarm the field with Wing Beasts, and now I can get a +1 off of it, and it's paying 600 life points. I don't know if people have still been playtesting with this card. I know that I've seen people experimenting with Lyrilisks. Maybe they'd run this just because it's a free +1. But
yeah.
Because there's I'm just going to say this. I don't think there's ever a time where you're winning or anything, or in a good position with Lyrilusk where you don't have 2+ winged beasts, whether it's 2 Xyz or the little ones before you
the card does say you have to control 2 or more monsters with different original names and no non-winged beast monsters.
Right. But that's the only non-winged beast I could think of coming up enough in Lyrilusk would be Zeus. Because especially with the new Lyrilusk stuff, I feel like people are going to walk away from some of the generic level 1 cards they've used before in Lyrilusk. Maybe you'll still use a few, but I guess what I'm saying is Wing Requital could definitely come up. Harpies obviously can use this. It's just been a very good year for Wind and Winged Beast alike. And Speedroid Scratch, I mean, I know a guy, Speedroid players can rejoice now because after years of being dead in the water, Speedroid Terratop can be searched out by Speedroid players who had Burning Abyss players on their hit list. So it's good times for Speedroid players, and we do have the new Speedroid and Lyrilusk stuff coming out in January.
Yeah.
We were supposed to get it soon, but Konami pushes things back.
They've been funky. Guys, am I understanding Wing Requital properly here, where it says if you control 2 or more monsters with different original names and no non-wing beast monsters, you pay 600 life points and draw 2 cards? Wouldn't that mean wing beasts are out if you want to use this card?
No, it says
no
it means
non-wing beasts.
Gotcha.
Control monsters
that aren't
wing beasts. You can
okay.
Control wing beasts.
I was reading it wrong.
I read it. Yeah.
Okay.
I read it weirdly wrong too. I was like, if you don't control wing
beasts,
beasts,
that's what I was thinking. Yeah, I got it now.
I literally think what they could have worded it as if you control 2 or more winged beast monsters with original names and no other monsters. Or I understand what you're saying. No non is kind of a double negative. It's
Well, that's pretty good then, Carlos. Don't you think this is like a Nice little pot of greed then for Wing Beast S.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
It is.
that's really
really good.
good.
I mean, especially because Tri Brigade's one of the top decks. Like if you
Yeah.
only have your Wing Beast Tri Brigades, like then that's real good. And then the Speedway Scratch isn't bad at all either. It's basically just a search. So I mean,
Yeah, that's
both of these are pretty good cards.
yeah, that's
It also
pretty
sets up
good.
your gray for cards like Daiko Duke. So the point is it's got usage. I think that both of these are going to be used within their decks, and Wind Requital is literally a card I can see getting hit at some point if they make enough broken Wing Beast stuff, just because a generic draw 2 is pretty good. 600 life points isn't nothing.
Yeah, that's what I'm literally typing in the chat. It's well worth the 600 life points. I mean, that's just amazing to me that they have something like that, especially considering just how popular Wing Beast has suddenly become. And you've got the new support that's coming that I believe is Wing Beast with that archetype that just summons constantly. Boy, that's a little scary. Okay, now we're getting to we're very close to the final part of the podcast here. We've got the structure deck, Our Lost Sanctuary. Now, gentlemen, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought this was a structure deck back in like the mid 2000s, or was it 2010ish? That there was an actual
Yes.
Lost Sanctuary deck that was synchro based.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay.
Well, it wasn't synchro based. It had a tuner fairy agent monster, but it didn't have any synchro monsters. The monster it gets now is going to be the first agent synchro, but it was basically you were playing agents and you were trying to set up the big orange guy. I can't master. Was it just the Master Hyperion? Because it could banish cards from your graveyard to destroy cards your opponent controls. It was a really good, nice structure deck. I personally really enjoyed it. I think it was a good structure.
I remember I have students at the time that were writing about it. So as soon as I saw the name, I'm like, oh, this is older. And then I'm like, oh wait, the R is because it's nodding back to the past. So Carlos, how do the agent cards basically work if you're new to this archetype?
So there's not really like a defined like playstyle that they have. Basically, they all have effects, and they all gain, and they're completely like unique. But the whole gist of it is they gain their effects if the Lost Sanctuary is on the field.
Gotcha.
And so the new agents are really good because it makes it so that they gain their effects if the Lost Sanctuary is on the field or in the graveyard, which is absolutely amazing.
That's good. That's
so
very
and
helpful.
I think this is the first. I think this is the first archetype where it like gains effects if something's in the graveyard. So definitely really good. I read through some of the cards. I really like what they did with the archetype. I personally was a huge agent fan growing up. Like I played the deck.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. I think that's like the OG fairy deck in my opinion. And I have nothing but good things to say about the agent archetype and the support that they got.
Oh,
so
good.
I'm excited to talk about it.
Well, let's go ahead and look at some of that support here. So we've got the Agent of Life, Neptune. It's a level 1 light fairy, and you can only use the 1 and 2 effects of this card's name once per turn each. You can discard this card, and if you do, special summon the agent monster from your hand or graveyard, except the Agent of Life, Neptune, but it cannot be attributed until the end of your opponent's turn. Oh, that's really good, actually, that it can't be attributed if you're in like a Monarch situation. If Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field or in the graveyard, you can special summon one Hyper-End monster instead. And the one Carlos talked about, we're going to get to this as a part of the reprints, so I'm pretty sure that's in here. If this card becomes banished, you can add one Sanctuary in the Sky from your deck to your hand. Really good. And then we've got Majesty Hyper-End. You can only be special summoned by the first procedure of this card's name once per turn. You can special summon this card from your hand or graveyard by banishing just one agent monster from your hand or field or from the graveyard. All battle damage you take from battles involving your fairy monsters is also inflicted to your opponent. And then the third effect here, once per turn you can banish one fairy monster from your hand or graveyard. Then target a card in either graveyard, banish it. If Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field or in the graveyard, You can activate this effect up to twice per turn. Okay, very interesting here. So, um, Carlos, just because you've played the deck so much, what do you like or dislike about these two cards?
Okay, so I'm gonna start with Master Hyperion. I like that you can special summon it by banishing an agent card from your hand or graveyard. So it's easy special summoning. Like that's you want that. We want that in agents. We want the extenders. The battle damage one is a little bit like whatever to me.
Yeah.
What I do like is I do like the effect that you can banish a card from your opponent's graveyard and potentially twice.
Yeah.
If you control a Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field or in the graveyard. Like that's like a double DD Crow, and it's a once per turn, so you can keep sniping stuff from your opponent's graveyard. Like I think that effect is really really good. So I like we're gonna talk about Neptune. I like Neptune. For the fact that it's a very easy special summon. Like, literally just discard, and you get to special summon an agent monster from your hand or graveyard.
Yeah.
There are a couple of bigger agents. Nothing too crazy, actually. So, actually, that's not as good as I thought initially, because it's not from the deck. But I do like how you can summon a Hyperion monster if you control a Sanctuary in the Sky. It kind of fits with the theme.
Yeah.
And then if it's banished, you can add one Sanctuary in the Sky from your deck to your hand. Like that's really good because some of the agent cards banish for cost. Like the Master Hyperion, it banishes agents to special summon it. So this is really good in that sense.
Okay, Grunt, any additional thoughts for those two cards?
As he said, agents themselves don't have too many utility. I shouldn't say they don't have too many utilities. They're not very big. Like the Hyperion monsters are definitely the bigger ones when it comes to beating things down. But there are a lot of good agents out there. Agent of Earth obviously is the archetypal tuner, which actually was on the limited list for some reason because that was just one of the stupidest ban lists ever. But at the same time, you've also got Venus. You've probably seen Venus. Venus just summoning all the shine balls out.
That card's really good. Yeah.
So, yeah, you've got some good options there, and I'm pretty sure if I also remember, yeah. So the thing is, though, Earth only works on normal summons, so it's. I don't know. The effect is cute for the Asian side. The Hyperion effect is definitely better. I just hate how it doesn't summon from deck. I don't think it would have been busted if it summoned from deck because agents and Hyperions are a very limited archetype in terms of members. So,
That I agree. That would have been the better way to start. Would have been from deck. I would have preferred that, but it is what it is at this point. Let's get to the synchro monster. This is pretty interesting. So Master Flare Hyperion or Hyperion. So it's generic. It's a level 10. It just takes one tuner plus one non-tuner fairy monsters. Oh, and that way it's not generic. But you can only use this card's name 1 and 2 effects per turn each. You can send one agent monster or monster that specifically lists the Sanctuary of the Sky in its text from your hand, deck, or extra deck to the graveyard, and until the end phase, this card's name becomes that sent monster's original name, and replace this effect with that monster's original effect. And then the second one, when your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you can banish one fairy monster from your hand or graveyard, then target one card on the field, and you get to banish it. Then we've got the link 2 here, Guard of the Agents, Moon. It takes 2 fairy monsters. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. If this card is link summoned, you can send one Sanctuary in the Sky or one card that specifically lists that card in its text from your deck to the graveyard. Or if Sanctuary of the Sky is on the field or in the graveyard, you can add the one Agent of Mystery Earth from your deck or graveyard to your hand instead. And then the second effect, you contribute one fairy monster, then target one card your opponent controls, and you get to destroy it. So, Grunt, what are you thinking about these two cards?
Synchro is definitely solid. Ironically, we had kind of a White Stone of Legends incident because Agent of Mystery Earth was a tuner who has not had a synchro ever since her introduction until now. So the fact that we finally got one is good. The fact that this can send any agent or card that lists Sanctuary in the Sky from the hand, deck, or extra deck to the graveyard is definitely a big deal. Outside of the agents, some of the counter fairies actually interact with this. And yeah, Sanctuary in the Sky does have several cards that work with it outside of this deck, so it does have some extra utility. The fact that you can just banish a fairy and then banish a card on the field is nice. It sucks that it doesn't negate it. It doesn't have much protection to speak of, but it's nice. It's a nice boss monster. It's bigger, and I mean, I'm going to say what most other people say. The link here isn't bad. It just should have been a link 1. Agents outside of Venus really can't swarm the field too easily, so it's kind of a shame that they limited such a decent effect to a link 2 that could have been a link 1 and no one would have complained.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Carlos, would you agree with Grunt? Would that have made this much better, having this be a link 1 versus 2? Oh, you there, Carlos?
Yes, sorry, I was muted.
You're fine.
I was saying, yeah, obviously, it would be better for the link 1 because you can just make it easier. But nonetheless, I think it's okay. I'd prefer just playing. I'd prefer just playing something like Foolish Burial Goods and just sending the field spell Sanctuary in the Sky. That way, you skip just having to summon this altogether.
Yep.
I really like the synchro. I really like the synchro. I think the artwork on the synchro is beautiful.
Oh yeah.
The effect that it can banish a fairy monster to target a card in the field, banish it, is really good. It triggers off that one fairy monster, the one effect when it's banished. So I mean, synergy. And then the fact that it can copy card effects is really good. It can copy Master Hyperion, which can banish up to 2 to pop 2.
Yeah.
So it can be a pop 2, it can be a banish 1 at the same time. Like it's pretty good card there. I really enjoy it, and honestly, I really hope that they don't piece this stuff together, piece this stuff apart. I really just want to play this deck, to be honest.
Yeah. And you bring up a good point. I do not want to see this released in sets. Please do not do that to us, Konami. Just go ahead and give us the structure deck, because it does have some decent things coming out with it. And I just don't want to have to search through packs to get all the stuff that comes with this. This looks like it'll be just fine as a structure deck. Moving on to some other things within the structure deck, we have another synchro. This is a level 5. It's the Executor of Hades, Pluto. And how this works, it takes 1 tuner plus 1 or non-tuner monsters. And this card is always treated as the agent card. You can use this card's name's second effect once per turn. So the first effect, once per turn, you can banish 1 monster from your graveyard. Then target 1 effect monster that's on the field. Change it to face down defense. So that's interesting. Book of Moon. This is a quick effect if Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field or in the graveyard. Oh, I like that. And then you can banish this card from your graveyard. Add the Sanctuary on the Sky from your deck or graveyard to your hand. And then we've got the normal spell, the Sacred Water of the Sky. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name each once per turn. 1, activate the Sanctuary in the Sky from your deck, or you can add 1 monster that specifically lists the card in its text from your deck to your hand. Then if Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field or in the graveyard, you gain 500 life points for each Hyperon and the agent monster you control. If your monsters are monsters that specifically list the Sanctuary in the Sky in its text would be destroyed by battle, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. Oh, wow. Boy, there's a lot of good stuff here. So, Carlos, I'm thinking right away for the level 5, I'm going back to the starter deck that we got when Lynx came out. What was that card that you could normal summon and it instantly brought out a level 2 tuner? Do you know which one I'm talking about?
No
I
idea. Are you
can't
thinking
think of
about
the.
the? I think you're thinking about the one that was played with the Gar Dragon combo.
Yes, that's
Uh,
exactly what
uh,
I'm thinking of. Yes.
yeah, I just
I
pulled it out like a couple days ago too. Um,
Because this seems like a prime. I mean, because it's generic to make with the synchro here. You normal summon that, then you tune with that. Because are the shine balls tuners, guys?
No, they're
no, they're
all
not.
vanillas
Oh
from
darn,
Yen
boy, that would have
era.
been great. There's still ways that you could instantly get this out though, and if you have sanctuary on the field or sanctuary in the sky on the
I mean,
field,
it
it's a
doesn't
book of
say
moon.
it has to. It doesn't say it has to be an agent tuner, so you can still use that card. But
Yes, yes.
I don't think you'd run it. Yeah, I don't think you'd run that. That seems a little bit because where are you going to get the extension from? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I do like it. I do like it though. I think it's a really good like if there's a way to like make this on top of the level 10, like I'm gonna feel really awesome and happy about that. You could also play like a Dogmatica engine. Send this to the graveyard. Then you could banish it. Add the Sanctuary in the Sky. You know,
Yeah,
good combos.
yeah, yeah. Go
The
ahead.
sacred water of the sky, I think, is actually amazing. It searches sanctuary in the sky or an agent, which is like super super good. So I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah, both
it's
cards I
awesome.
think are wonderful for the deck. Draco Net is the card, guys. Someone in the chat here, Pokemaster,
Mm-hmm.
he figured out which card it was that I was thinking of. Yeah, I really like both cards here because, like you were saying, Carlos, the Sacred Water of the Sky, it leads you to search for one or two things, or it allows you to choose what you want to search. And then you've got the Executor of Hades, which is a Book of Moon. I mean, there's some really good things here, Grunt.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this real quick. Props to Konami for referencing how Pluto is not technically a planet by making him technically not an agent while also having him treated as an agent. Because you can kind of get the subtle jab there.
Yeah, that's funny. I like that.
I
Absolutely.
Pluto's cool. I mean, he does have decent stats for level 5 synchro, so I guess it's fine. I like the Hyperion synchro more, but he is a synchro tuner, so he can climb, and Book of Moon is nice on him. I don't know. It's neat. I guess I'm not as interested because I'm not into agents as Carlos is. I think these
Mm-hmm.
look fine. This is one of those scenarios where I feel like they'll definitely print it as a structure deck just because I don't see there being enough hype for this. Because compared to say the Unity structure deck or
Mm-hmm.
geez, remember the Warrior structure deck where we
Yeah.
had Phoenix Gearfried moved? I don't see as much generic love for this because it's not as splashable as the other decks, and it's not getting as much hype, which is a good thing. I think that means we will get this as a structure deck, and maybe I'll be proven wrong.
Well,
Maybe it will see some
it's kind of
use.
like
Maybe it'll.
Charmers. I never thought Charmers would have been a structure deck, but they did it. I know people
Yeah.
love those tokens. I mean, and don't get me wrong, they do look gorgeous. But yeah, I'm going to be very pleased if this does, in fact, come to us that way. Now, there are a ton of reprints in this, guys. I mean, I was looking through the reprints, and I'm just going to read through them, and then we can discuss them briefly here. So we've got Divine Punishment, obviously the Sanctuary in the Sky, Archlord Christia is a definite. Then you got Sanctum of the Parish, Master Hyperion.
Ursheth.
Thank you. Balance of Judgment, Artifact Lancia, Spirit Sculptor, Reasoning, Pot of Desires, Typhoon, Compulse. Then you got Cards from the Sky, and for current players, they're going to be happy because this is going to bring the prices of these two cards down. Herald of Orange Light, Eva, Light of Redemption, Harpy Feathers Duster, and Raigeki. So there is a lot of really good reprints here. Grunt, which reprints do you think are the best ones for this structure deck?
Well, people who pick up these structure decks look for stuff like here's the thing: if someone is not an agent fan, they're gonna at least be thinking of, hey, what are the good reprints? Raigeki has been, at this point, reprinted enough times to where people are probably not going to care about that. Feather Duster, I mean, we just had Feather Duster reprinted in both God decks, so I don't know how much people will care about Feather Duster if they didn't get some supers.
Well,
I
it
mean, that's the
keeps
thing,
bringing
too.
the
They're hollow
price
reprints.
down. I like that it keeps bringing the price down. That's good.
So yeah, it keeps bringing the price down. In my opinion, Desires, good reprint. I don't know if Christia is worth much. I think personally Herald is the better reprint here just because Drytron players love Herald, and I know Eva too, but Herald is actually, for a card with more printings than Eva, Herald has been more expensive. Even the old structure deck common we had from the Counter-Strike structure deck was expensive. So again, I think it's Eva, Feather Duster, and Orange that are the best, and I think there might even be some differences. I don't think there's anything in this reprint list here that's not going to get reprinted because it's nothing crazy busted.
Yeah.
Like Lightning Storm. So,
Carlos, your thoughts? Which reprints do you think are good for those budget players?
I mean, all of these already had cheap reprints is the thing.
They did.
You didn't really need...
Yes,
except for Herald of the Orange Light and Eva.
Well, actually...
Because Eva came out in the structure deck, right?
Eva's only had one printing in the structure deck,
which
ironically had a Herald reprint.
It was only like $5. I think Herald of the Orange Light is probably the best reprint, which kind of sucks because I just bought some. But like, I don't really care. The ones I brought were higher rarity than this will probably be, unless this is a super, or an ultra. But
common.
But
I would assume common. Yeah, I agree.
But I think they're good reprints if you're trying to play like Drytron. Other than that, I mean, you already have easy access to everything. I mean, it'd be cool to get a Harpy's Feather Duster and a Raigeki in the same structure deck. You know, that's pretty cool. But,
yeah, because you don't see that very often. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and I thought Artifact Lancia, I know that's had several reprints at this point, but that's, again, another nice card that's nice to put in your side. So I thought that was pretty good, too. How many reprints has Typhoon had, though? Has that had a lot of reprints?
Let me look real quick, because I actually have TCG pulled up. I think Typhoon's had a few reprints. I don't think it's ever been crazy hyped. Let me see here. And, of course, because of TCG players.
Is it lagging on you? Well,
it literally brings up everything that has Typhoon in its name.
Oh, gotcha. Well, while you're checking on that, the reprints that I think are the good ones, I am excited about Lancia for people who need a cheaper version. But without a doubt, Eva and Herald of the Orange Light, that's going to bring the prices much farther down for players. Same thing with the Harpy's Feather Duster. That's still been kind of $4 or $5 even in a structure deck. So I am excited to see that that's happening. Grunt, did you find out that reprinting for Typhoon?
It's loading. Come on. Because literally when I pull up Typhoon, it literally gives me like all 50 reprints.
That's okay. I'll move on to the link 3 that comes in here while you're doing that. So we've got Celestial Night Lord Parthshath. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but it takes 2+ fairy monsters. And you can discard one card, add one Sanctuary in the Sky, or one card that specifically lists the Sanctuary in the Sky in its text from your deck to your hand. Or if the Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field, you can add one fairy monster instead. If another face-up monster or fairy monster you control is sent to the graveyard, except during the damage step, you can banish one fairy monster from your graveyard, special summon one fairy monster from your hand whose level is higher than the banished monsters. You can only use each effect of Celestial Night Lord Parthshath once per turn. Carlos, what do you think of this card for the structure deck? Any good? You like it? Like what drawbacks? What are you thinking?
I'm pretty sure this card already existed, right?
Does it? I don't even know if it does.
Yes, but I'm pretty sure it had a confirmed reprint in here, and or it's something that wouldn't be. Either it's getting reprinted in here, or I'm suggesting it as a pickup because it does synergize with the deck.
So you can send. I mean, it's cool because you can send this card off the off the synchro to copy his effects to search Sanctuary in the Sky. So that's cool. I mean,
okay.
Other than that, I mean, it already has a reprint, so or it already has a printing. So
I
pretty
didn't
sure
even know this thing existed.
Unless I'm confusing it.
It
It's a
came
different card.
out. I believe it came
Dual
out in Duo.
Devastator.
Did it really? See, I don't even
Dual
remember
Overload.
this
It came
card.
out of one of the dual sets, I believe.
It was either dual. I think it was Dual Overload or Dupo. It was one of the dual sets.
Well, that shows you how little of a splash this made. If I have no idea what it is, I had no idea this card already existed. So very interesting. Grunt, did you find out that printing for Typhoon?
Yeah, Typhoon ain't that rare. There's literally 4 different versions out there. 2 of them are tied
so
back,
it has been
X3
reprinted.
and Astral Pack, and it's been reprinted in the Dual Devastator set. So
yeah, I don't think the reprints are awful. You know, I think they work for a structure deck. But if we were to take something out, Grunt, what would you replace it with? So looking at the cards that I've got here on the screen, if there was something you would take out, what would you take out? And what would you replace it with?
Let me real quick as far even does. Like, the first thing that comes to mind here is Light of Redemption. Just because, let me see this real quick. Pay 800 life points, target one of your banished light monsters, add it to your hand. I mean, I get the idea with Light of Redemption. I just don't know. Honestly, I would rather they put a copy of DDR in here because DDR could just bring back the banished fairy. I don't know. Light of Redemption is an older card. I don't really see that being needed. Spirit Sculptor is cool. I'm guessing there's something in this deck that it contributes itself for to search something.
Right.
Let's see here. Lancey is a good reprint. Typhoon, honestly, hit or miss. They could have put in any spell trap removal. They could have put in Heavy Storm Duster, Twin Twister.
Yeah.
Compulse is Compulse. Balance of Judgment is not bad. Nothing here screams to me, hey, this is horrible. Again, it's an Asian deck. Nothing here seems too out of place. Lancia, I guess, kind of does, because the deck's not going to really pop it much, and I mean, it's not like you need it to stop banishing, but it's still a nice reprint altogether.
Okay, Carlos, any thoughts on which card you would take out?
Yeah, just take out all the crap cards. And put in some good ones. But yeah, I mean, like Spirit Sculptor, you don't need. I mean, Balance of Judgment, you probably don't need. Typhoon, you probably don't need.
Yeah.
Just just standard structure deck kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And actually, with that being said, I'm actually probably gonna have to head out here just because I gotta start cooking dinner.
Oh no, totally understand. But, we're actually right near the end, so that's perfect timing.
You're right near the end. We've only got like 5 more slides.
Yeah, we got like just a handful of slides. So thank you, Carlos.
To say real quick.
Oh yes, go right ahead.
Yeah, no problem. What I wanted to say real quick is I'm really excited about the Agent structure deck. I like how they've been redoing older structure decks and like modernizing them, and I think it's like really cool. And I hope and pray to God that we get the actual structure deck, because man, it feels like the TCG gets shafted and we don't get any of the good structure decks, but we get all the bad ones. So,
yes.
Stop that and start giving us the good structure decks, please.
Can I say one thing right now is that now that we've had Warriors and Dragunity and now agents getting their retrain, I want to see a structure deck R of Gates of the Underworld. Give me some more Dark World stuff.
Yeah, they actually re-released those a few years ago. I would agree. It's time maybe for an update. I agree. But again, Carlos, thank you. We enjoyed having you on. So we've got our next few. Oh yes, thank you. So we've got our next few cards here, and then that's going to wrap up our podcast for today, guys. Thank you so much for everyone who's been watching. But we're getting to some really neat cards here after this slide. So the V-Jump promo card, it's already been released. It's Outburst Dragon. It's a level 8 Dark Dragon effect monster. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name once per turn. If you control a monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, then destroy all other monsters you control. You cannot special summon monsters while you control this special summon monster this way, except for dark monsters. So right away, I'm already thinking rocket support. Like that's where I could see this working. During your opponent's turn, you can quick effect immediately after this effect resolves. Link summon one Dragon Link monster using this card you control. And then we've got Giant Starfall. It's a normal trap. Neither player can activate the effects of monsters without a level in response to this card's activation. Oh, that's interesting. Target one face-up monster on the field without a level until the end of this turn. Change the attack to 0, and it cannot activate its effects. It cannot be destroyed by battle, but also any damage either player takes from the battles is halved. Okay, so again, Grunt right away for Outburst Dragon. I'm thinking this is pretty nice if you're playing rockets. Like I could see this being something that you could synergize with that. And I like the idea that during your opponent's turn, you have some sort of interruption by link summoning. What would you link summon though that would be effective? What would you think would work there?
Let's see here. I can look real quick. I hate that I have to look, but let's be honest here. If we were here to name every Dragon Link monster, we wouldn't be here. We'd be having to leave for dinner as well. Let me see real quick. Because there's actually only 33 of them. That puts things in perspective. So obviously you could summon the Borals. The issue I have with that is that Borals are very effective killers, not really defenders, unless we're counting Boral Guard. But I don't know if I'd use Boral Guard. Boral Code. I don't see a ton of cards I would want to link summon using this thing during my opponent's turn. My best opinion. Well, actually, let me check this real quick. The issue too is that you have to do dark monsters because it'll resolve when it's off the field, but like I was going to think, oh, Hieratic Seal, but Hieratic Seal is light, so you can't do that. I guess you could do that. I don't know. Personally, I don't know why I would want to link summon a dark dragon during my opponent's turn.
So that's interesting. I wonder if there's something coming in the future that we don't know about. Interesting.
Maybe you are just supposed to summon the Borals and I'm being stupid, but it's kind of weird that it limits you to dragons because it could have just been a Dark Link because there's also Dark Cyberses like Topologics. Topologics I would have summoned. I don't know.
Yeah, that would make sense.
And I will say this right now because people are probably thinking it's a V-Jump card. When are we gonna get it? And I'm like thinking to myself here. We've been getting a lot of V-Jump stuff as imports a lot sooner than usual. Like, the only one I can think of that was a V-Jump promo that took ages to get recently was Diviner, and, that's things. But the point is, we're probably going to get this as an import in Burst of Destiny. I wouldn't outrule that just because that's where we are getting the rocket support.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, speaking of Burst of Destiny, what do you think about this trap card?
Oh, the Burst of Destiny. So this trap is okay. It's kind of a neat little reference to an Arc V card because there was a character who, I guess, was he literally had decks. He had cards that had to deal with modulating levels, and it was very ineffective against cards that didn't have levels. But then he started running cards that negatively affected cards without levels. So it's ironically stuff that would have been more anti-Xyz, but of course, since links don't have levels, it applies to them too. It's neat. I don't know if this is going to really be breaking anything down. If you want to really negate something's effects, Imperm is better.
Yeah, there's better choices. Absolutely, but if your budget, it's an option. It's something to play around with. It's definitely an
option, yes. It's definitely not a bad option.
Okay, so the final segment now, guys, because we're getting to the Beetrooper support, which was just talked about here recently, correct, Grunt?
We had... So, one of them, Beetrooper Scout Buggy, was revealed, I think, 2-3 weeks ago. We knew about it for a decent amount of time, and we were waiting with bated breath to see what the other Beetroopers would do. I think we actually... Come to think of it, we knew about Scout Buggy for like a month, and because they announced it as the sneak peek promo.
Okay,
And,
So
and then we just got the other stuff revealed. Not even officially. They revealed it because people were opening boxes and showing what they pulled.
gotcha. So let's go ahead and break them down. There's definitely some good stuff to look at with this. So we've got the Link 4 Giant Bee Trooper Invincible Atlas. So when this card is Link summoned, while this Link summon card has 3,000 or less attack, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. That instantly makes it pretty good. Also, it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, again, making it good. You cannot special summon monsters except for insect monsters. You contribute one insect monster. Then you get to activate one of these effects. Special summon one bee troop monster from your deck. This card gains 2,000 attack until the end of this turn. Man, 5k. You can only, and it can't be destroyed by battle, and it can't be targeted. So think about that, guys. You can only use this effect of Giant Bee Trooper Invincible Atlas once, or can't be destroyed by card effects, once per turn. And then you've got Bee Trooper Scale Bomber. If an insect monster or monsters is normal or special summoned to your field, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. Nice extender. When a monster your opponent controls activates its effect, quick effect, you contribute one insect monster and destroy it. You can only use each effect of Bee Trooper Scale Bomber once per turn. Then you've got Bee Trooper Sting Lancer. During the main phase quick effect, you can target one insect monster in your graveyard and one monster in your opponent's graveyard. Special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, place the targeted monsters on the bottom of the deck. So I like that. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add one Bee Trooper spell or trap from your deck to your hand. You can only use each effect of Bee Trooper Sting Lancer once per turn. Ooh, Grunt, this looks like decent support. I mean, the boss monster's pretty good. You've got the extending with Scale Bomber. You also have an Eruption with it being a quick effect. And then Lancer looks good for getting spells and traps from the deck to the hand. I mean, this looks pretty solid.
So my thoughts on this archetype, and we'll see it in the next few sets of cards, is that this is a deck that does not hate working with other insects, and that's what I like about this.
That's
is that
nice.
It's generic. It's a lot like Guard Dragon, where it can work with other insects. Unlike Guard Dragon, however, I don't think it's going to make insects broken. I just think it's going to make them a lot more fair, and it's going to make them have a better fighting chance, because with Link 4 here, here's the thing. Link 4 with insects, depending on what you're running, it's not that hard to get this out. And it already has good protection. You can make it a big 5k beater if you want to kill your opponent with it, end the game.
Yeah.
Or you can turn any insect into a lone fire for a Bee Trooper. Now, my only issue with him is that I can't think of too many Bee Troopers right now that I absolutely want to summon with him. Plot twist, there are only 3 main deck Bee Troopers right now, and Sting Lancer benefits more from summoning himself. You can summon Sting Lancer from the deck and still get the spell Trap Search, but the Link is good for what it does. I feel like we need more Bee Troopers before it gets its full potential. Scale Bomber, if you notice, is literally any insect. So, again, if you're running other insects, I've seen people experimenting with Battle Wasps, because Battle Wasps have combos that work with these guys. Insectors, I can go on about Insectors. I'll explain that later.
I was going to say, Digital Bugs could even work with this then, correct?
Digital Bugs to an extent. I think Digital Bugs have some limits with light insects, but that might just be their spell trap support.
If you Xyz summon, you have to have it be a light insect, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so that's where it's a little funky. But no, I like this. Yeah. Going to the spell here, we've got Bee Trooper Formation, where it says you can target one Bee Trooper monster in your graveyard, special summon it, but it cannot attack this turn. Also, you lose life points equal to its original attack. If a face-up insect monster you control is destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can special summon one Bee Trooper token, and you can only use each effect of Bee Trooper Formation once per turn. Now we've also got the Link 2. Ooh, I wonder if I can read it. Okay, so It requires 2 insect monsters. You cannot special summon monsters except for insect monsters. You can only use each effect of Armor Horn's effect once per turn. During your main phase, you can immediately after this effect resolves normal summon 1 insect monster. Oh, that's pretty good. If this card is in your graveyard, you can banish 1 other insect monster from your grave.
3 other insect monsters.
Oh, thank you. And then special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. Wow. Okay, that's not bad. And then we've got Beetrooper Scout Buggy. You cannot special summon monsters except for insect monsters. If this card is normal or specialed, you can special summon 1 Beetrooper Scout Buggy from your hand, deck, or graveyard. Oh, that's great. Especially from the deck. You can only use this effect of Beetrooper Scout Buggy once per turn. Oh man, Grunt, there's some good stuff here. Which of these cards do you like the best?
I think it's kind of a mixed bag because I've heard some people hating on Formation, and I'll admit this right now. Formation kind of sucks because it is a once per turn monster reborn. That's all it does for you. It can't even attack that turn, and you lose life points. I don't know why they had that. And the token effect is cool, but it's like your opponent can just destroy the token. The one good thing about Formation, in my opinion, is that if you have a Buggy in your graveyard, you can special summon Buggy and then bring out another Buggy from your hand, deck, or graveyard. So you can get 2 for the price of 1.
Yeah.
So that's good. I think the best one of the 3 here, outside of Buggy, can definitely see more recursion because he keeps bringing out more cards.
Absolutely.
I can see Beetroopers with Swarm. He swarms well for Link fodder. Armor Horn is probably my favorite just because even if he's not that strong, the additional normal summon helps with combo extension.
Yeah.
Battle Wasps have a very easy time getting out 2 insects to summon him, and Insectors, for example, you can search off of Centipede or summon off of Dragonfly and have Armor Horn give you an additional normal, and with enough insect engines put together, I've seen Insectors, Battle Wasps, and Beetroopers in some test decks. It's not hard to get the ball rolling with some combos here and there. So the fact that we only have 7 cards in the Beetrooper archetype right now, in my opinion, makes it feel like it's got more promise. Just because it's not xenophobic. It's completely generic insect support with some special support just towards itself with the spells and traps.
And I like that. I think that's the right way to go. And then this is our last slide, I believe. Yeah, so
yes, it is.
We've got Insect Shinobi. Oh, gosh. Yeah. Okay, so 2 monsters with different names is its Link summoning requirement. Well, this card points to a monster. Your opponent's monsters cannot target this card for attacks, kind of like Crusadia. If a monster or monsters this card points to is destroyed by battle or card effects, you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower insect monster from your hand or graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. See, then I'm seeing some great potential here with what we just read, Grunt. You can only use this effect of Insect Shinobi Hakumiryo. I have no idea. Once per turn. The next one, Beetrooper Flying Sting. I like the name and I like the way the artwork looks here. When your opponent activates a monster effect while you control a Beetrooper monster, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. During your end phase, if this card is in your graveyard and you control an insect monster with 3,000 or more attack, you can banish 1 insect monster from your graveyard and you can set this card. Oh, so good. You can only use 1 Beetrooper Fly and Sting effect per turn and only once that turn. Wow. So I like that this trap is a quick one. It's a counter trap, so I like that right away. That's a quick speed. And I really like that you can bounce it back to your field. You have a way to set it again. And I think the Link 2 is pretty decent. So what do you really like about both cards, Grunt?
So what I'm going to be transparent about right now is that Insect Shinobi here took his sweet time getting printed over here in the TCG. He actually was pretty sure he came out in like the first year of the Link era or second year, and we're just now finally getting him. Which honestly, when I saw we were getting insect support, I was hoping we'd get him printed because he's a nice generic Link too for insects, and I mean, you can kind of see what I mean with the
Yeah.
generic special summon effect, and he does synergize with this pretty well.
Yes, he does.
Again, I just hope we don't get a Vendread here because I like the generic insect support. I like that this has a lot of potential to get better. We already have Cicada King as a generic rank 3. You
Yep.
already brought up digital bugs. Personally, because of Scale Bomber and Scout Buggy both being 3, I'm hoping that we also get a Beetrooper Xyz monster in the future, or we at least see more generic insect stuff, because this is all just generic good stuff for bugs. Like, it has some
Absolutely.
specificity, but a lot of it is just like, oh yeah, no, we work with all bugs. And again, Insectors are getting their new card when we get the deck when we're getting the deck building pack with the P.U.N.K stuff. We're also getting the Insector stuff, so I'm just hoping that insects can really see some rogue success now that we're getting stuff like this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We have enjoyed catching you up on all this Yu-Gi-Oh news that you might have missed recently. And Grunt, I want to give a special shout out to you for again putting together the slideshow. You did a fantastic job. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It kind of wish we had better pictures for Beetroopers, but again, in our rush to get this stuff to you quickly, we couldn't really wait for that.
Well, thank you
We
so
literally
much.
just saw these in a few days, so
And
it's good to know they had them.
you did a great job. Great job for sure. So, guys, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.